Hello, hello, and welcome to the Q Ditch Summit, sponsored by Q and powered by Adobe. My name is Matt Miller. I am the host of the summit, and we are excited to have you here for another presentation where we're talking about teacher wellness. You know, those things that help you live your best teacher life and to be the best that you can be so that you're ready to go for your students and for your work. Everything feels all in balance. This is what we're all about in this version of the summit. And today's guest, I know, is going to be one that you really appreciate because I know that she comes from a really authentic place when it comes to all of this and has, a wide range of experiences that she's going to be able to share with us. Some things that she's studied, some things that she's just lived in her life. And so I am super, super excited to have Crystal Chavez on with us today. So Crystal, first of all, thank you so much for being a part of the summit. And can you tell the people a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I am teaching right now currently online. I'm a K-5 online teacher at a virtual school. And so I do have a little added wellness that I work from home right now. But I am also a mother of two young boys. So I have my 4 and 6-year-old who I will be homeschooling this year myself. So that'll be a fun challenge, testing my teacher wellness this year for sure. And so that's what I do. But I also am a huge advocate for social emotional learning. So I do quite a bit of trainings and presentations at conferences all around social emotional learning. Huge passion of mine.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe that's the first place that we can start here is just to, actually, even before we do that, I think we've got something maybe is more important because we've got this issue of, teacher wellness. That's obviously the topic that the whole summit is surrounded by, is the topic of teacher wellness. And it just seems like it's such an important topic right now, maybe as much as ever. I don't know, maybe we've had these same stresses and these same needs for teacher wellness as before, but it seems like we have so much on our shoulders, so many expectations, and it seems like we're losing, and I know the numbers bear this out, that we're losing teachers, in large part because they get burned out, maybe because they're not taking care of their wellness as much. And so I just wanted to kick that over to you real quick about the whole idea of teacher wellness and why you think this is such an important issue right now.
The reason why it became such a high need in my eyes is because every time I did a presentation or training on social emotional learning, we'd go through the list of SEL competencies, and teachers were like, oh, that's what it was. This is the list of the skills that we should have. And many times it would end up with a conversation of, well, I don't even have that much resiliency. I don't even know how to name these emotions. I don't have, those skills. And of course, when I went to school, I don't remember having any direct instruction, explicit instruction on social emotional skills. So it came from our parents, right? Maybe coaches and different roles, and others would talk about it more. But it wasn't a requirement in the classroom, right? It was all academic focused. So now I feel like with that added pressure, here's one more thing, social emotional learning,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is probably the, keystone to it all. Really, it just shined the light on something that we all need to put focus on. And so with a well teacher, you will have a well class. And so I think that for me, that was an easy translation of, oh, this is where we need to go first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And since that's kind of the direction this conversation is going, maybe we can start there, because I know for me, that's an area that I just don't know a whole lot about. I know that if I was in one of your presentations, I'd probably be just like those same teachers. And I'm going, oh, so that's what that is. Oh, so that's the way that, that I can put my finger on that. And I think, maybe there are others. I'm hoping that there are others that are listening to this that are probably in the same boat as me. And so maybe you can give us kind of a crash course on that of, maybe what some of those social emotional learning competencies are, some of those things, those sort of like core fundamental things when it comes to that, that we can benefit from as teachers, but we can also pass on to our kids.
Sure. So if we go by Castle, their wheel of competencies, it's a great resource for everything social emotional learning. There's self-awareness, there's social awareness, relationship building skills. There is, oh geez, of course I don't have the list right in front of me. Sorry.
Okay.
Responsible decision making, social awareness.
I'm slowly scrambling here in the background to pull this up and put it on the screen for you. So we're going to keep it real and just keep it rolling. So
so basically what, goal setting is a huge part of it as well. So knowing yourself is kind of the beginning of it all, right? Identifying emotions, being able to verbalize that even, and to really be able to have a space to talk about that, right? I mean, as a boy, right? What are boys typically taught? Don't talk about your emotions.
Right, exactly.
Right. And so, yes, thank you. Okay, which one was I missing?
There it is.
Self-management.
Okay.
That was the only one I was missing.
Nice job.
So self-management, is then taking those emotions, recognizing them, and then being able to cope, right? And that's where the balance comes. That's where we know we're feeling big emotions. How do we calm down before our reaction has some really bad consequences, right? And so it all kind of goes together. Are we making responsible decisions when our emotions are completely out of control? No. So that's where we have to include those self-management skills to help us to interact better, which is obviously going to help in relationship building and in dealing with others, which is the social awareness piece. So there's quite a few components here, but they work perfectly together when you have practices and tools in all of those areas.
Yeah. And so when it comes to that, as you've done presentations with teachers and they've seen, some of these competencies and they've heard some of the things that you've had to share related to them, what do you think are some of the most common aha moments that teachers have when they're looking at that and they're going, oh my goodness, where has this been my whole life? Like, what are some of the things that they notice?
I think when I really start putting it into perspective of how often these teachable moments come up, it doesn't seem so overwhelming, right? So what we're hearing a lot of is, oh, we're going to get a new curriculum. The school is going to be implementing a new program. So for example, with PBIS in a lot of schools right now, we are talking about procedural changes or procedural expectations for behavior. Well, SEL is often lumped in with, you've got PBS, you've got SEL, but now it's clear that no, you need more explicit teaching. So then here comes a curriculum. Okay, when are we going to fit that in? Well, that's kind of where I have been doing the work for teachers as much as possible. And here's how to embed it, even if you don't have a curriculum, right? It's here's what you can be doing already if you see that aha moment and go, I need this in my classroom, I need this in my life. And so showing them how to embed quick little routines in the morning, right? So many people start off with a quick starter and it could be a journaling prompt, right? Why not journal about something that has to do with identifying feelings? When was the last time you felt sad? How did, who were you able to talk to? A list of questions. So I'm actually going to have a fun little project this summer I'm putting together, trying to put together a whole school year's worth of prompts that you can use. So whether that's every morning or, once a week that you want to do it, at least it's giving you those prompts to do that. And it's through affirmation form. So that it'll hit different areas. And it really helps as well. I don't know if you can see on my wall back there, those little cards, those are actually affirmation cards. And so each day I'll put up, 3, or I'll change out just one. And that's what I'm just telling myself for the day, right? That's how I kick off my day. And I even have some for the kids. They're actually great. they give them specific tasks to do with that affirmation. So
Mm.
today I am going to create an opportunity to be kind and notice who has been kind to me today. So that's a super easy one, right? But they're all kind of along those lines. They even have growth mindset ones as well. So
That's
I
cool.
love these.
Can I ask you real quick about those affirmation cards? Did you make those, or is that something that you go get, or?
I did not. I found them. I had been looking for such a long time for a good set for kids. And I had my own, and you can find a million lists online of affirmations. But I really like these. So I'll make sure to give you the link to
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
It was just a mom who had, I think, a food business, but she really loved affirmations, and she put together these card sets, and she has
Nice.
quite a few now. She has teens, she has growth mindset, kids, moms, parents. So
Yeah.
it's her little passion project. They're great.
That's so
So
cool. And we will definitely stick those down in the links, which you'll be able to find in the YouTube video, but also on the Ditch Summit page. So yeah, we'll make sure that you're able to find those. Because if you're watching this and you're seeing those cards, you might be thinking like I am, going, "Oh, that's really good. Where'd she get that?" So
yeah, and that's what I'm creating with her permission, is the journal prompts that go with them. So you'll
oh,
see
wow,
pictures of various of her cards decks. So that'll be
nice,
fun for this year.
nice. That's perfect. Very good. And so since we're talking here about teacher wellness, and I know so many of these things blend together. They're good for kids, they're good for adults. They're good for humans.
Yeah.
And since there's so much crossover here, I'm sure that some of these social emotional learning competencies, some of these things that we were just talking about, where you were talking about some ways you can use them in the classroom, I'm sure that those cross over really well into our teacher lives too. And
Yeah.
so whether we talk about, anything related to that, or I'd love for you to talk about a specific project that you're doing, which I'm imagining these probably cross over. And if they don't cross over, then feel free to answer this however you want. But you've started this project called the Teacher Love Tribe, which I think is fantastic. I've heard just a little bit about this off air, but I wanted to hold off and hear Crystal really talk about this on air so that I could hear it at the same time as all of you. So any direction you want to take on all that stuff that I just threw out to you, Crystal.
Okay, great. I started Teacher Love Tribe, which is all about teacher wellness. Um, and you mentioned at the beginning this authentic side of it. So let me give you a little background on that and why Teacher Love Tribe is kind of what I came up with.
Mhm.
So when I first started teaching, I had just gotten out of a pretty horrible relationship where I emotionally was not well. I was not well in any way. In fact, teaching was my escape. That was my way to move on and try to get towards wellness. Didn't make such wonderful decisions right out of the gate after that relationship because I still was not well. Right, I was rescued but not well, and so I had been battling with a lot of weight gain and depression, very low self-esteem, and really what I had to learn was to love myself again. So that was a process that happened while we were founding a school. And so that really within the first 2-3 years that we were working together, we had a very tight team. I don't know what I would have done if this team wasn't such a supportive team. It was a very small group of teachers, small school, and we did things like exercise together. None of us could get to the gym. We were starting a school. Like we were there as long as they would let us be, right? Till all the street lights went out. It was
Yeah.
gone. And so we had to figure out how to balance this because it started, taking its toll on top of just the regular life stuff. And so that became apparent and we started working out together. So that was a huge step towards wellness for all of us, but especially for me, the support of my colleagues, as well as the exercise, right? Just that alone in a physical sense was really helping my mindset to reset. And so that really led to a journey. So that journey began, the healing began, the weight started dropping off, the confidence started rising. And all along, I was adding in a new ritual, a new wellness ritual, a new wellness. As you take care of yourself, you love yourself, right? And then you go, oh, I deserve this. And then I deserve this level of wellness. And then I deserve this level of wellness. Um, and so I think I have a card too that says, just because I feel like it.
Nice. Yes.
That reminds me, just do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so there's a lot that came from my life that really is pushing me to do this. So it was the last 12 years, happily to report that I'm happily married with 2 beautiful children, found Mr. Right. So yay, Mr. Chavez, for walking into my life at the right time. And what happened was I healed, and I was so much in such a better state in my life. And lo and behold, right, he walks into my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it always seems to happen that way. So there's another reason to be well.
Yeah.
And so really all of the journey that I went on, I'm ready to share, and I'm ready to show people how I did those things and to take them from where they're at and increase it at the notches that they're ready for, right? To meet them where they are and to create that space. And so I'm a virtual teacher, and I know how important it is to be face to face. I get it. We can't all meet in the same room somewhere. And I want to invite as many people in, and thank goodness for this technology. So I have a Zoom session that's 30 minutes once a week. And we meet for 30 minutes. I'll do some sort of guided breathing techniques or a guided visualization or relaxation to start off and kind of just get us all in that Zen space so we can kind of relax. And then from that point, we'll do a small teaching point and then an activity that might last the entire week for everyone. I might say, I want you to answer this question every day for a week in a journal, or go clean out your desk, or something that's going to increase your wellness, little baby step by baby step. And so the biggest piece with that as well is that it's the accountability. It's funny because we were discussing with some of the tribe. They wanted the resources, they wanted to look back on a blog or something, and I've been kind of going back and forth in my head. I honestly don't want to put it down in a blog because this isn't something that you should do haphazardly. Oh, I'm going to read a blog, I'm going to do that one thing. I want the routine started. And when you're face to face with people, the connection, it's like an accountability. But not only that, I'm going to ask everybody to get an accountability partner that's in the Teacher Love Tribe so that they can continue to check in. I have a check-in partner that every morning, we both have kids, we're both at home, we both have, a bunch of projects going on. And we check in and we literally just go through our checklist for the day, but then we check in on each other. Like, hey, I know that your intention was to exercise. Did you yet? Drop and give me 20. Like, we will do
Nice.
that to each other.
That's cool.
Or I'm horrible at drinking water. Show me your water bottle. Like, we will just send these messages. And you know what's great is that it's video also. We use Marco Polo app.
Oh, I love Marco Polo.
And so we can get to it when we get to it, right? It doesn't demand our attention immediately, but we know that it's there. Oh, she's going to call me out on something, so better be ready. So I love that component. And so unfortunately, I'm probably not going to spill it all out on my blog. I might just put my own reactions to what's happening, but it's really something that the community is what is going to make this work. Because that's what I lived and that's what helped me. And I just know from reading a gazillion books that this is what's going to work.
Yes, absolutely. And what you just described there, the Teacher Love Tribe, this is something that people can join and be a part of, right?
Yeah, anyone. It's completely free.
That's cool. Yeah. And so one of the things two things that I heard you talk about related to the Teacher Love Tribe was I heard you talking about accountability partners and heard you talking about routines. So I'm seeing partners and routines. Those seemed to me, just from hearing about it, to be two important pieces of the puzzle. And obviously within the Teacher Love Tribe, you help them to develop, accountability partners and routines. But I wondered if we could just break off for just a second on those couple of things, just from your own experience and from anything that you've read or, connections with people in the tribe when it comes to having that accountability. And when it comes to building those routines, do you have any aside from join the Teacher Love Tribe, which everybody should, of course, but aside from that, do you have any suggestions for us on how we can do either of those things better?
So something that was huge for me as far as routines go was morning routines. All of us probably have a list of routines that we do, and we do it the exact same way. It's funny because now that I work from home, I don't get ready like I typically would when I was leaving the house, right? But my husband does. And so I can see all of his routines. I know exactly the way he does things and which order. And so, it's funny that you see that, but I'm like, hey, everyone has the way that they do things. They've probably done it for years. So the easiest way to add a new habit is to attach that new habit to a habit that's already established.
Yes.
So pick one of those habits. Like I always take a shower at this time. Well, 10 minutes before that, I want you to stop and get silent. So this is my morning ritual consists of 3 things. Something for my body, something for my mind, and something for my soul. If I can get those 3 things in the morning before I start my day for work or momming or whatever that's going to be, if I could get that time to myself to do those 3 things, and it varies. Sometimes I do it in 5 minutes. Sometimes I get an hour and a half.
Nice.
So like that's my battle, right? It's like I don't have a car drive to do my Audible, but if I had a drive in somewhere, I would have my book going the entire way or a podcast. But to make it something that is filling you with joy and love and light, not, icky, something that's going to get you riled up. It's watch what you're putting in the morning. And so those 3 things are huge to me. So whether it's meditation, prayer, something quick that you're doing, when I blink my eyes open, everyone's got to open their eyes, right? My ritual that I attached to opening my eyes was gratitude. So
Nice.
as I blink my eyes open, before I say a thing to anyone or look around to see who's up, I am thinking to myself, what am I grateful for? I do it before bed verbally with the kids, but in the morning and I often use visualization as part of this. So I will actually be thankful for things that are going to happen to later in the day. I am so thankful that my interview with Matt Miller went brilliantly today. That was one of my morning gratitudes.
Nice.
And so just setting that positive tone and intentions and being thankful, that is one. And then literally just stretching in bed before I get out. So I know, okay, today there's no way I'm going to get my exercise in of any sort. So can I just give my body some honor right now and stretch my neck and slowly give myself a nice, whatever it is. And then, like I said, a meditation prayer, quick, short, if it has to be. You can literally do that in 5 minutes. And I feel complete when I've done that. Like I said, ideally, I have 2 hours, right, of this bliss and journaling and all these things that we could do.
Yeah.
But if you just start with those small things, they will build up and you'll see how you value them and make more time. All of a sudden, there's more time for these things as your love for yourself increases. You say no to the things that are depleting you and you say yes to the things that are invigorating you.
Yes, definitely. I love this. This is so good. And I'm so glad that you mentioned gratitude earlier. And the very first thing you do when you open your eyes, because like you said, everybody has to open their eyes at some point, and to turn on that gratitude. And I've heard so many people say that when you develop that, if we want to go for the rhymey version of it, the attitude of gratitude, the habit of it, that can have such a huge impact. And so I'm really glad you brought that up. And as far as your dealings with the teacher-led tribe. Just to kind of wrap this one up so we can move on to something else. What are some of the benefits that you've seen out of this from some of the people that you've interacted with? Because I'm sure that the habits, the accountability, the gratitude, the, all of the things, I'm just pulling a couple of things off that I've heard you say, but all the things that come through this, whenever you're willing to take care of yourself and love yourself, basically, what are some of the things that you're seeing through the tribe that are the benefits of going through this?
Well, here's the fun truth of it. There hasn't been much participation yet. However, the excitement around it is building. And the funny part is that I sat, I don't know how many times, in an empty Zoom room waiting for all the people who said, oh my gosh, I can't wait for Thursday, I'll be there. And then I wrote a blog and I said, I get it. I know why you're not here. It's hard. Self-awareness is the hardest. There are books on Judgment Detox by Gabby Bernstein. I cannot get past chapter 4.
Oh, wow.
I've been working on this book for a couple years now. Even went to watch her speak about it. Oh man, to get to those levels, it's hard. And so we're going to be working through things, and things are going to come up. And, we talked about trauma-informed classrooms. Like, this is where I can help to ease us into these spaces. And it's a safe space for that, right? And so we can explore at your own rate. You don't have to dig in and, give me all of it at once. It's not that type of situation. It's work through it at your own pace. So I know that it's intimidating to start something like this, but I've got to tell you, I've been in my own groups where I was I was not the facilitator, but I was the one being coached. And in these groups, I had accountability partners. I had, we had a community, we had a little Facebook group, and continued the conversations on our own healing and up leveling and how that all worked out. And that camaraderie that is built is something that you want to have at every school site, right? And so what I would love is if people were here, like, I just would love to see that expand into school sites. So I've done a couple where I've tried to go in, and do like one session that's like that, but it takes a lot. It takes commitment. It takes, a continued effort. So I would love to have like a whole school coming to my sessions, but that would be so awesome, and see how it impacts their entire school and their admin as well. It's not just for teachers.
Right. Yeah, that's right. The admin don't get to think that they're escaping out of all of this, because that's, I'm just picturing, yeah, absolutely. I'm picturing how, if you got an entire school that was more mindful of all of this and put the time and the effort into it, it's like, how would the culture and the climate of that school change, and how would that trickle down? And of course, you don't do this for like test scores or anything like that, but just think of how that could affect the health in so many ways of that entire school, and how the kids would benefit from it,
Yep. Or just giving the permission, right, to even start having the conversations about what do I need to increase my wellness while I'm at school.
Yeah. Oh, wow. We could totally dig into that too. That's good. I wanted to switch gears just a little bit, because you are a mom and I'm a dad, and we've both got kids. And isn't it interesting how sometimes when we need a little bit of time to ourselves, or when we need to improve our own self-care and our own health, sometimes it's fascinating to see that the kids see it sometimes just as easily, or maybe easier than we do. And I know that for me, I'm sure for you too, sometimes having your kids helps you see things in kind of a different light. And I was wondering if we transition this to the to the mom side of things, how having kids has been sort of an impact in this area of your life.
Well, I've got to say, I'm so glad that this was an area I was already interested in, because my children, I have 2 sons, they're 4 and 6 now, have battled with some pretty intense allergies, food allergies, and so have had pretty severe eczema up until recently. We've got it under control. So we were battling sleepless nights, and the stress level of that alone, really was trying for me. But I also work at home, and I know the first thing that people are usually like, oh, you work at home, easy peasy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not when your kids need you 24/7. And so I'm never off of the mom schedule, and I'm at work every day, all day. So balancing that, turning off work, turning off, different compartments, and trading hats has been, like that is a whole other thing. When you leave home and you're able to clearly switch hats, I crave that some days where I'm like, maybe I should just go back into the classroom and figure this out, for multiple reasons. But that's something that I've had to really work on, like productivity, right? Like looking at how am I spending my time? How am I getting the biggest return on investment on these things that I'm doing? And then saying no to the things that are completely disrupting the household. So you said like the kids often act as a mirror for us, and that's
Right.
true. Um, it's crazy to say this, but I know there's probably going to be in the next, decade or so, proof that their allergies actually would get worse when my stress levels were higher for different things. So they actually react to my stress. And we all, I think, know that, right? Babies will cry more when things aren't balanced at home. Whether it's a rough time at work and we're all busy running around and it's crunch time, or, something, has happened, that, might be a new thing that everyone's dealing with. But kids often are the mirror. So the interesting thing is, because I do these practices and rituals, they know that these are things that help me, right? So they've done things. We have things that we do together. We do their affirmation cards as well. I have taught them to sit and breathe and do different exercises and yoga. And not in an intense way. We're not doing it every day. Cosmic Kids Yoga on YouTube is an amazing resource.
Hmm.
There are tons of beautifully filmed yoga stories that the younger kids will love doing. And then sometimes it's just one pose that we're doing. But the thing is that they'll come in and they'll see me, or I'm running back and forth doing things, and and I hear a mommy, yes. Do you want to sit down and do some breathing? Or we have these really cute meditation pillows. And I wish I had them right here. There's like Spider-Man and Winnie the Pooh. Um, I visited a monastery, and they actually had a great teacher meditation, like little class that they had. Anyways, they were selling these cute little meditation pillows for kids. So I had to get them, of course. And so they'll bring out the seats and go, let's sit down and breathe. And like there's this really cute one, dolphins, where you breathe in and you go psh. And so when my little one was really little, he would just go psh every once in a while, and I would go, that is a good reminder. I need to do that right now. And he was just playing. But there's definitely this relationship. The kids are naming their emotions. They're getting, when I'm giving them the verbs and the nouns and the everything to describe what's going on, and for them to pay attention to how their body is reacting. Like it seems like you're feeling frustrated. Are you frustrated when they're, doing things? And this was the talk. It's funny because, you hear do the potty talk when they show interest, right? Well, this is just like, it's the SEL talk when they're showing interest, when they're having an emotion. Talk about it. It's
Yeah.
okay. Start showing them how to manage that and learn the tricks. There's so many apps and so many, tools now that are out there that are geared towards kids, that you could know nothing about this and you'll have a plethora of resources at your fingertips.
Yeah, totally.
I'll make sure I give you the links to all those too.
Yeah, definitely. Now, as you were talking about your kids and some of these things that they're learning to do from you, there was a couple of those that I was hoping that we could dig into a little bit, because I'll bet that the benefits that we could have from using some of those ourselves would be huge. And two of the one, and feel free to take this in a different direction if you can think of something else, but two of them that popped into my mind were breathing and naming emotions. So I was wondering if, just, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be with kids, but I mean, I've got to think that if we did, like, wasn't it right before we went on, we took a big deep breath like you and I both did?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
That's
so
really huge. Most people don't even know how to take a deep breath. So this is a fun one. I always teach this every single presentation I give. This is huge. So with kids, you have them lay down and they can see their belly rise. If they can get their belly to rise, that's a huge one. So you can put like a little doll or like a stuffed animal on their belly and have them breathe in. But for you right now, if you're watching, put a hand on your chest and hand on your belly. And if you're breathing in completely, you fill your belly first. And your diaphragm actually will expand to allow your lungs to expand more and get a deeper breath. So if you've heard of the belly breath, the yoga breath, right? That's why. It's because you want to actually feel what a full breath feels like. So you'll breathe into your belly and then your chest rises, then your chest falls and your belly kind of pushes the rest of it out. So that complete breath and stopping just to do that 3 times. Every single time I do it, I'm usually hyped up during, high energy, passionate when I'm doing my thing at presentations. As soon as I teach the breath, my voice comes down. I'm all calm. Everybody in the room is calm. So it's usually like, oh, wow, the power of the breath. And there's a ton of science and how it all works together and calms the amygdala. That is out there. I could give you the link to that too, but that breath work is huge. And just to learn a few, and I have some resources that teach you breaths that stimulate and also those that calm. So another fun fact is I got yoga certified to teach kids a couple years back, K through 12, just so I could have that. Really, it was more for me probably. So I could go to yoga consistently.
yeah,
But it was great. It was great. And it was all focused towards kids. So I hope to start implementing that. Online, it's kind of hard to teach, but I try to do like a pose here and there. So
that's cool.
and
That's really
definitely the
cool.
breathing.
That's interesting that when you were mentioning the deep breath, which is funny, it's amazing what I personally get out of these interviews. And sometimes it's like these teeny tiny little things. Sometimes it's things that you already kind of know about, but you need a reminder of. And sometimes it gives you a view into something you thought you already knew that you didn't. And this is one of those. I got to do some training on public speaking, and part of it was they had a vocal coach, and this vocal coach was talking about how whenever we're nervous or whenever we're in a hurry or whatever, a lot of times, and this totally goes along with what you were saying, we breathe out of the upper part of our lungs. It's like these little shallow breaths. And so,
very shallow.
yeah. And I think that's great that you mentioned the belly breath, because whenever, it's up here in the upper part of your lungs, it's just these little, like little quick breaths that we'll just try to squeeze in between words as we're talking too fast. In fact, I was just doing it. That feels a lot better right there, actually.
Yeah.
And there have to be, I've got to, and forgive me for pausing on this whole breathing thing, because I think it's important, personally, and I don't even really know very much about it. Being able to get this breath part under control, or at least to try to move yourself in the right direction, has got to have huge benefits, right?
Well, the focus that you put on your breath. So imagine you're frustrated. Okay. Imagine a 7-year-old frustrated. Imagine you frustrated at, we're all married and understand what happens sometimes, right? And just taking that breath before the inevitable comes out of your mouth and you want to, retract it. Just taking these breaths. I mean, besides the science behind it, like you actually are giving yourself that time to think. So that intention with the breath, your focus goes to the breath, but immediately what's happening is you're not thinking and rising up the anger or the frustration or the negative emotion you're feeling. You're focusing on your breath, if you're conscious of that, right? If you go, oh, I notice what's happening in my body, and this is the self-awareness piece that comes with the whole kind of yoga thing and breathing is, oh, I feel I'm sweating, I'm getting hot, I'm starting to breathe very shallow, clenching my teeth, my shoulders are like this, whatever it is, that's your cue. And it could be multiple things. You start practicing that enough, you start saying that enough to children, to other people, you start, just immediately doing that yourself. And so when that focus goes to that, your focus comes away from the emotion, so the thoughts aren't feeding the emotion to get bigger, right? And it's that whole listening thing. Am I listening to respond, or am I listening to understand? That's where that switch happens. I am now able to understand where you're coming from. And maybe I need to say, you know what? I need to walk away. I can't have this conversation right now. I need to go calm myself down because I don't want to say something ugly. This happened to me with the school around allergies. And I literally said, I cannot have this conversation right now. I will call you tomorrow. And they're like, would you like us to have the principal call you back? No, not today. And I really, really was like, oh no, I will not be saying nice things today. So we're going to just avoid any conversation until I have been able to wrap my brain around whatever it is. Right. And so especially that mama bear side comes out, and it's so, that's a big cycle with this self-awareness, self-management. Then you're making responsible decisions because your brain actually can't engage with your prefrontal cortex if you're having these huge, flight or fight reactions. You can't function in those high level thinking. So you have to be able to go through the cycle to bring it back to a space where you're able to have those good decisions and speaking with those good decisions in mind, right? So.
Yes, totally. And I'm so glad that you brought up the idea of, if your body and your emotions and everything inside of you is not primed to have a logical, calm conversation, that it's okay to step away. I would imagine in small part, at least take a breath first. In a little bigger part, maybe step aside for a minute and come back. And even bigger part than that, let's talk about this tomorrow. And I know for me, there have been moments where I've known that I'm not in a good position to talk about this. I can feel my emotions are getting at me and everything. And, but I don't want to come off. It's like, I don't want to say, I can't talk about this right now because of what I will say. And it makes me think, but I don't want to come off as a hothead. I don't want to say that because I'm afraid of how they're going to judge me, which is crazy because if I open my mouth at that moment, I'm going to probably come off as a hothead. But this is me like realizing, having the hopefully self-awareness and realizing that it's okay to say that. And it's okay if you want to have a logical conversation and you understand that it's important to have a logical conversation, to come back to it later when you have your logic back. Is this all making, is that about the sum of it?
So imagine if you were, so this might happen a lot in, either teacher to teacher talks, but what's happening is the meeting's today, this has to be decided today. So we have to talk this out. When you're, you do not agree, that's not the path you want to take on that child or on, this. And we're always in a hurry to just get it done because that's the day that the meeting was, right? And we need to have results by, 6 weeks from now. So those situations, if we, and that's, I think, as teachers, we have to make these quick decisions, even administrators as well. I'm thinking like in these feedback, I came and observed you, here's your feedback, and those situations as well, where you want to explain more, but you're getting, you don't know how to take the feedback, or you're not used to that. Those rituals and those things, creating the space within those conversations, the expectations within PLCs or SST meetings, right? Where the stakes are so high. We're talking about a child's future, something you've been working on as a teacher to improve, and you want that coaching, but you don't want it to be judged just once. Come in. I mean, this is I was lucky enough to have coaches and principals in that culture where they were constantly in the room. So it wasn't always, oh, I'm going to get caught doing something. It was definitely like, I'm here to support you. What do you want to get better at? Let's coach you through it. So how do we get there, right? First, but in those moments, like, how do we take away these fake emergencies that, like, there's not enough time? Because really what we should be doing is giving that more time, so that, like I talked about earlier, is that return on investment. Where is the impact coming, right? We talk about visible learning and all of those things. Where is the impact? Well, in relationship building and really in those meetings like that, what I'm saying is, like, those discussions that are happening around getting everyone aligned with the supports for the classroom are the most important things happening at the school, because that is giving you the strongest foundation to do what you need to do in the classroom, right? And people understanding what you're doing instead of it being slapped together and, then being criticized as you're going along because it wasn't done, because it's being done haphazardly. So I think that fake emergency needs to be taken away. Imagine if we didn't have that. I'm sure shoulders would drop, people could breathe, and we would say, okay, this was the first time we looked at it. We're going to look at it again, on Friday, and then again on Tuesday before we make a decision.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So, there's a reason that we say we're going to sleep on it, that phrase has come into play so often. This is
how often do we hear that though in meetings, right? No, it's like, let's get that action plan done.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think that's a wonderful place to stop right there. My goodness, Crystal, we have come a long way in this conversation, haven't we? Yeah. It's like we've gone from, parenting to social and emotional learning to teacher wellness to, we've covered sort of the gamut here. And I think anybody who watches this hopefully has had some takeaways that would be really, really helpful. So, and if somebody's watching this and they want to stay in touch with you, they want to follow what you're doing, if they want to get involved in the Teacher Love Tribe, any of that stuff, where's the best place for them to find you?
Honestly, I'm probably the most consistent on Twitter with all of this. So I just changed my Twitter handle. It's Mrs. Chavez _11. And then I do have a teacherlovetribe.blogspot.com. And I will provide you with the link for them to register for Teacher Wellness Tribe, the Teacher Love Tribe, sorry. And we will, for now, I'm doing it Thursdays at 5:00 Pacific time. That probably will change during the school year. And as more people join, I really want to find a time that's a good day, a good time for everyone. So that's probably going to change, but I just, for the rest of the summer, get a good jump on wellness so that your routines are already there once school starts.
Yes. And my guess is after this airs, and now that people are watching it, my guess is that those Zoom meetings are not going to be totally empty anymore. I don't think you're going to have that trouble anymore. That's the hope anyway. Yeah, very good. Well, Crystal, thank you so much for sharing some time with us, sharing your expertise, your life experience with all of this. And this has been a great interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, and thank you so much to all of you that are watching this and for joining the Q Ditch Summit sponsored by Q. Again, huge thanks to Q, and of course to Adobe for being our sponsor, which has wonderful products. Probably the favorite of mine would have to be Adobe Spark, which you can find at spark.adobe.com, where you can create awesome images using Post. You can create pages, you can create videos. It's this wonderful suite of creative tools. If you haven't checked it out, definitely do check it out. Adobe Spark at spark.adobe.com. Again, thanks so much for watching these videos, and we'll see you on the next one.